Still no sign of the doctor, or the police either.
Isn't there anything else we can do?
Maybe we should call the hospital again. They might have a helicopter for emergencies.
Hello? Excuse me. Is anyone home?
The doctor?
Oh, I rang the doorbell, but there was no response. I'm Megumi Kiryu from the hospital.
You're finally here. Please, this way.
Are the roads cleared?
Fortunately, I was just a few minutes ahead of the accident. I'm just glad I wasn't caught up in it. More importantly, how's the patient doing?
He's resting now, but still seems to be in pain. Doctor, please help him.
I understand. Excuse me.
I'll go too, to keep an eye on things.
Why did Yayoi use such an elaborate trick to kill the detective? Surely there were other ways to do it.
Do you think Yayoi poisoning the tea too? If so, that would make Yayoi the Scarlet Camellia.
The Scarlet Camellia. The nemesis of the Shijima family for almost 100 years. If such a person really existed, would it be Yayoi? I wonder. Actually, I don't think Yayoi is the Scarlet Camellia.
Why?
Yoko said that Yayoi works as a live-in housekeeper. If so, that means she doesn't leave the premises of the house.
Right. And?
According to Takehiko, there are no camellias here. You'd have to go outside the estate to find a camellia like that. Yayoi doesn't leave the house, so it was impossible for her to get that camellia.
Couldn't she get someone to send her the flower?
I doubt she gets any personal mail, so her only option is to smuggle it in with their weekly delivery. But the last one was 3 days ago. Also, ordering camellias along with meat and vegetables is weird.
I see.
As for the poison, why would she choose something that made herself the prime suspect? Also, it's far too simple compared to the pendulum trick. There's no consistency to the two incidents.
That's true, which means the Scarlet Camellia and Yayoi are two different people. But why did she kill that detective? This whole thing won't make sense until we know her motive.
She said she killed him because he made her lose someone dear to her, but... Kazunaga, what's the diagnosis?
The doctor Kiryu, she said it probably was arsenic.
So, the detective's guess was right, huh?
But she doesn't have an antidote on hand, of course. All we can do is pray for his recovery. Yoko and Akari are keeping him company. But
But?
he kept muttering something about how he didn't need a doctor.
As self-centered as always. He never cared one bit about what the rest of us thought.
AG,
When Mom was dying, if only he hadn't stopped her treatment.
this isn't the time for that.
I know. Getting fired up about it won't bring her back. But I haven't settled things with Dad.
You gave up that right when you left this house!
That's enough.
Do whatever you want.
Something must have happened with Eiji's mother. We don't have a single lead on that skeleton yet either. We need Yayoi to tell us everything she knows. I think that'll give us a way in.
What's wrong?
Oh, sorry. Mrs. Shijima told me to bring Yayoi a blanket and some of her belongings. When I went to her room just now, I found this on the floor and wasn't sure who to give it to.
Right. I'll take care of it.
Bunge Seikai. It looks pretty old.
Published in 1973. About 50 years ago.
Why would Yayoi have this? Looks like she's read it many times. Look at this! The names of the characters. Ryoi Shijima!
Dad?
Why is his name here? The writer's name is Io. That's an unfamiliar name.
Let me see. 1973. So then, Dad must have just turned 20.
Hold on. This character.
Josui. From that mummy story.
So Ryoi and Josui met 50 years ago.
Why would Yayoi have this book?
There might be something related to her motive in here. I'll give it a read.
Okay. I'll go check on my father.
Yes. October 1972. Rumors were flying about a murder at the Scarlet Camellia nightclub. But perhaps that was preferable to the tragic, unspeakable truth. I was a witness to everything that happened that day. I still don't know if the decisions I made were correct. I have decided to put pen to paper so that you, dear reader, may hear my story. Night after night, the singer named Saya charmed the crowds with her ageless beauty and magnificent voice. Some even said she had been gifted with eternal youth. I was a huge fan. So I began working a month ago at the nightclub where she sang, a place called the Scarlet Camellia. I heard rumors that she was retiring, and I just had to work somewhere close to her. Amazing. She sounds just like the recording.
Okay, rehearsal's over. The show's gonna be great, Saya.
One more hour to go. Oh, what a beautiful voice.
If it isn't you, you were listening.
Are you really going to quit? I wish you'd keep singing.
Just to leave the audience wanting more. Then again, not everyone thinks of me as kindly as you do.
What?
It's nothing. Forget I said anything. Well then, I have to get ready. You do your best too.
Good evening.
Hello, yo.
Kanako.
Hey, you. Snap out of it. Go help Saya with her makeup or something.
Oh, I've taken
Now,
care
come
of
back
that.
to me. I don't care what it is. Just get to work, you lazy fool.
Okay. The boss seems more agitated than usual. Oh, Mr. Bito. Saya seems a bit down, doesn't she?
Don't worry about that.
Huh?
Being talented means she has more than her fair share of critics. You know, people have been calling her the eternal diva for years now.
Yes, I've heard about that. Some people even say she's eaten the flesh of a mermaid.
It's got nothing to do with mermaids. There's an even bigger secret to how she stays young all this time.
A secret?
Forget about it. Anyway, it's about time to open. Let's put on a good show tonight.
The camera? Well, there was that overseas business trip. Hey, that camera's pretty expensive, right? I made sure to get a nice one. Here you are, sir. You know.
Who is that? And that table's candle is out.
Hello, yo.
Mina, do you have a minute?
What is it?
The candle on that table over there is out.
Don't worry about it. They want to watch the stage in darkness. But more importantly, could you go join that table?
Got it.
Be careful, though. The guest went up on stage now, just without telling anyone. I had to drag him off. We should kick him out, but apparently he's the son of some rich family. That means we can't touch him.
I'm going over. Welcome to the Scarlet Camellia. Please call me Io. Could I ask your name, please?
I'm Ryoi.
Pleased to meet you, Mr. Ryoi. Are you here to watch Saya tonight?
Watch her? It's more like I came here tonight to confirm something about her. The Scarlet Camellia.
Huh?
What's the story behind the name of this club? The Scarlet Camellia.
Oh? Are you familiar with the name Yaobikuni?
The legend of eternal youth, a mythical woman who lived for 800 years.
They say that she had a red camellia with her as she traveled the country. A fitting name for a place where women never grow old.
I heard there's an eternal diva here. Is that true?
Yes, she's called that to fit the club's image. But it's not far from reality. Saya's beauty and voice haven't changed one bit in years.
Do you believe in fairy tales?
Fairy tales?
Stories like this one. In this country, there's a fruit that grants eternal youth, the Tokijiku, and one family has passed it down for generations. But this wondrous fruit only ripens once every 100 years, which means only one person can become ageless every 100 years. And surely there are many who want the fruit for themselves. What would you do if you had it?
It's just a fairy tale, right?
What would you do?
Well, I would eat.
How about you? Do you want to live forever?
No.
I do. I want to be young forever, just like Saya.
Well, it should be given to the person whose life would have the most value, yes?
Yeah. That's not what the family thought. Instead, they gave it to the person whose life had the least value of all.
But why?
The most effective use of the fruit of youth is to study the person who ate it. If the mechanism for agelessness could be unlocked, one fruit would benefit thousands of people.
Unlocking the mechanism for agelessness? So, a test subject, basically.
Yes. They lived only to serve as a test subject for that family. The fruit was given to the wretches who could be forced to lead such an existence.
That's just horrible. Even if that research had value, it's not worth sacrificing someone's happiness for. It's really unforgivable.
I see. I suppose you're right. Damn it.
Perhaps you should slow down.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm afraid Io is needed elsewhere. This girl will accompany you instead.
No need for that. The singer, Saya, she'll be on stage tonight, right?
Yes,
Then I'll watch her alone.
as you wish.
Excuse me, please. Which table should I go to?
No, we're going to the dressing room.
That's awful. What happened to it?
This dress for Saya just arrived this morning. I hung it up with the other costumes. Then I looked away for just 1 second and this happened.
Why?
Actually, someone's been harassing Saya for several months.
Really?
At first, it was just a letter telling her to get off the stage for good. But then we started finding razor blades, even dead animals in her makeup kit. Remember when Saya took a break from practice about 2 weeks ago?
Yes, but you told us she'd caught a cold.
It was actually because someone had put disinfectant in her water bottle.
Disinfectant?
She spat it out immediately, but the chemical burns made her lose some of her high notes. I told her to take some time off.
Right. After that, you didn't perform your signature number anymore. I was curious about that. Now I know.
I'm sorry I didn't tell everyone about the harassment. I didn't want anyone to worry.
I had no idea. So that's why you're retiring.
That day, I brought coffee instead of my usual tea, so I didn't notice the smell at all. I guess bad things happen when you stray from habit.
I want you to stick with her for the rest of the day. Just make sure nothing happens to her.
Huh?
I asked Motoki to get you. I told him you're the most reliable.
Well, you're still new, so no one's asking for you yet. Sorry, but I'm gonna need you to look after Saya today.
Some guests were acting strange. We've got to be careful. Saya! Are you alright?
Kanako.
Oh no! How did this happen?
Don't worry. I'll find a new dress for her. The dress that I rejected last time is still at the tailor's, I bet.
Oh, yes, that'll work.
But it's, you know.
Is something wrong?
Nah, I'm overthinking it. Anyway, I'll go pick up the dress.
But Saya goes on in less than 30 minutes, right? Who's going to be on stage until then? What about me?
Huh?
I'll stand in for Saya. Please, let me sing.
No way.
But then the stage will be empty.
Don't get the wrong idea. The person who did this is after me. I have no idea what they'll do. If something happens to you on that stage,
But
do you know how dangerous the threats have been?
someone put disinfectant in your coffee, didn't they? And sending you razor blades and stuff. It's unbelievable. Even so,
Kanako.
that's all the more reason we can't let them win. Harassing you is the same as attacking this club. We've got to fight back. I'm sure they'd like nothing more than to see the stage empty. I understand how Kanako feels, but we can't put her in danger. I will keep an eye on the audience. If anyone tries any funny business, I'll stop them. Yeah, thank you.
It's all very sudden, but I know you can do it.
Okay.
I'll sing on that stage tonight, if it's the last thing I do. Kanako, keep them warmed up for me.
I'll show them everything you've taught me. I won't let you down.
Thank you. I'm counting on you.
Okay.
Well, I'll be off then. Neo, I want your eyes on Saya the whole time.
Got it. Saya, are you sure it's safe for you to be here?
I'll be fine. No one in the club can tell that it's me up here. And there's nothing to do until the new dress arrives. Still, I wonder if my harasser is among them.
Do you have any idea who it might be?
Yes, a few ideas, in fact. I used to think that looking young was a godsend, but it's not all roses. There's just so much jealousy. But then I still have to live up to everyone's expectations. You know, I realized something.
What is it?
Even if I try to live beautifully, the jealousy will never end. And there's no way I can win against time. To satisfy everyone, maybe it's best for me to leave this stage where my beauty is intact. Then I'd remain in everyone's memories, just the way I am now. My harasser's been telling me the same thing.
Saya, I owe so much to you and your songs.
You're exaggerating.
It's true. You saved me. I may never get to sing them myself, but your songs saved me.
That's kind of you. Now, we definitely can't let them win, can we? I must go on stage tonight, no matter what.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your patience. We present the timeless, the ravishing, the eternal diva, Saya. But before that, we've prepared a special program just for tonight. Give a round of applause to this young and talented singer, the future of the Scarlet Camellia, Kanako.
Kanako looks great on stage, but is this really a good idea?
It'll be fine.
Saya, shh. Thank you for...
Something wrong with the mic?
Kanako! What's the matter?
Please don't be alarmed.
What's going on? Here, help me.
She just suffered a dizzy spell. Thank you for your concern. There's no reason to worry. She just suffered a dizzy spell. Thank you for your concern. Please come again.
The show was canceled, and customers not involved in the case were asked to leave. That's when
I found poison needles at the base of the mic. Small needles covered with poison were taped to it. So anyone who gripped it would get pierced. A small but lethal weapon barely visible to the eye. This mic, is this the one you always use?
Oh, this is the detective I called in.
A detective? Really? Looks more like a dancer to me.
Appearances aside, Josui here has solved many tricky cases. I asked Josui to find out who it is that's been harassing Saya.
That's enough.
An amazing detective like you should have no problem finding the killer, right?
That's the plan. The only thing we can do for the dead is to uncover the truth after all. Back to my question. Is this the mic you always use?
No, this is the spare mic. We hardly use it at all. But we do sometimes have two singers on stage. We keep it in the stage wing, connected to the mixer.
Kaneko had changed mics earlier, I recall. That's the one she swapped to.
That's the main microphone.
It's the same as the spare mic I see.
It's not working.
Are you sure?
I just checked it. They're surprisingly fragile. Sometimes all it takes is a bit of water and poof, the mic's dead.
When did it stop working?
It was just fine during the rehearsal.
Oh, yeah. Saya's voice came through fine during rehearsal.
I see. Then it's possible the killer tampered with the mic sometime between the end of rehearsal and the start of the show. The killer then attached poison needles to the spare mic. Then they broke the main mic so that the victim would have to use the poisoned mic. Why would the killer do all of that? Why would the killer want to go through the trouble of killing her while she was performing on stage?
I should have stopped Kaneko from singing.
Actually, it was really supposed to be me on that stage. She might have been killed by accident, since she performed instead of me.
What was your relationship with Kaneko?
I was like a mentor to her. She joined 6 months ago with dreams of becoming a singer. I've looked after her ever since then. But now...
Hurry up and find the murderer.
Josie! I want to find the killer too. Please let me help.
You?
At this club, everyone knows who I am, so it'd be easier to get the information.
I certainly hope that's true.
And that's how I came to help this detective investigate the murder.
Sound check? Yeah, Saya and I checked all of it before rehearsal. The boss really let me have it after the last show.
Oh, that's right. The mic stopped working that day too. The sound came back right away though.
The cable's a little loose, so it comes out easily. That's why we made sure during the sound check that it was properly connected to the mixer. And I told everyone not to touch the cables.
No staff were allowed in during today's rehearsal, right? Why this sudden change?
Well, the boss told us to be extra careful so that nothing happens to Saya.
But nothing happened during rehearsal.
Were you and Saya the only people in the club during rehearsal?
Yes, but... Just what are you getting at?
If we assume the mic stopped working in the time after rehearsal and before the show, then Saya could have broken it, yes?
What? Josie?
No, she couldn't have. I was there for both the sound check and the rehearsal. I would have seen her doing it.
Is that so? Very well.
Let's see. So Ryoe went up on stage, and then Rina, you dragged him off.
I knew it. You're the killer, aren't you? I caught this thief sneaking around.
Thief is pretty harsh. Besides, I haven't stolen a thing.
Well then, what were you trying to do?
I was just looking for the restroom, and I got lost. It's my first time here after all. Somehow, I ended up at the side of the stage.
You went back up there?
Were you in the stage wing the whole time, up until the murder?
That's right.
Even though you wanted to go to the restroom?
I didn't want to miss the show.
It's obvious that the restroom isn't by the stage. Why didn't you just ask the staff?
It's my first time here, so of course I didn't know.
Even after I caught you the first time, you went skulking around again. He's up to something, I know it.
It's all right, Rina. You don't need to hide it. The truth is... You're in love with Saya, aren't you?
Of course not.
Why were you on stage trying to get so close to Saya? You don't look like one of her fans.
I already told you. I came to check something. It's not Saya I'm after. It's eternal youth. The real thing.
What do you mean?
I told you earlier. My family has a long history with that subject.
Excuse me for prying. But what's your last name?
Shijima. The name's Ryohei Shijima.
What? You want to know if I was on the stage today?
Yes, just to be sure.
I opened the club after rehearsal ended, then attended a guest for a while. We went to the dressing room. Then I picked up Saya's dress from the tailor's. When I got back, it was already too late.
Guess he didn't have time to go on stage.
Of course not. Running a nightclub isn't easy, you know. I guess this dress was a waste of time and money.
What a beautiful dress. This is the one you rejected, right? What was wrong with it?
It's not bad, but it looks like something you get buried in, doesn't it?
Something you get buried in. I guess I can see that.
The other dress got torn to shreds, so I rushed to get this one.
When did that happen?
I don't know. It arrived this morning. I took my eyes off it, and suddenly it's in pieces. It's my fault, really. I was afraid someone would tamper with it, so I didn't tell anyone that it was Saya's dress. I should have just asked someone to keep a close eye on it for me.
Did we get anything useful?
I don't know if it's really useful, but we've done everything that we can.
It looks like the police won't be here for a while. Let's try and solve this ourselves.
Right. repeatedly harassing the singer Saya. And this evening, Kanako's life was taken when she took Saya's place.
The broken main mic. And the poison needles on the spare mic. These must be the keys to the mystery. Why did the killer want the murder to happen on stage, in front of an audience?
For Kanako's sake, and for Saya too, we have to find the killer.
tell me what you think. What do you find most unusual about this case? It seems you've come to a conclusion.
Yes. Sorry, but thank you for gathering here.
What's this all about?
Well, I've thought about what happened to Kaneko and brought you all here.
Did you find something?
Please hear me out.
Hey, what about him?
Let him sleep. I have my suspicions about him, too.
He's been talking in his sleep. Something like, I didn't want to know. I was better off not knowing.
Does he know something?
He's the only guest who set foot on the stage. Only someone who has been on stage could have poisoned the mic. So, the killer is...
Are you saying it's one of us? Including that drunkard?
Someone has been harassing Saya. In a cruel twist of events, the plot to kill Saya ended in Kaneko's death instead. But what was the plot? And who orchestrated it? Tonight was to be her final show. I'm sure that the harasser wanted to stop her from singing on stage. That's why the microphone was poisoned.
But it was the spare mic that has the poison needles.
Yes. The killer attached poison needles to the spare mic, which is hardly ever used.
If the main mic had worked properly, poor Kaneko would still be alive?
That is the first critical point in this case. The main mic wasn't working, which means... the person harassing Saya must have broken the main mic for some specific reason.
Wait, you're suggesting they broke the main mic so that the spare mic would be used instead?
Well, they could have just poisoned the main mic directly then, right?
Yes. If the person who broke the main mic and the person who poisoned the spare mic were the same.
What are you getting at?
First, I want to establish the identity of the person who broke the main mic. In other words, the person who has been harassing Saya. From what I've deduced, there are two clues pointing to that person. The first clue was just a casual remark. Saya, The harasser put disinfectant in your water bottle, didn't they?
About 2 weeks ago.
When we were talking, Kaneko said that someone had put disinfectant in your coffee, didn't she?
But I kept that incident a secret from everyone.
And this is what you and Saya said, boss.
It was actually because someone had put disinfectant in her water bottle.
That day, I brought coffee instead of my usual tea, so I didn't notice the smell at all.
How did Kaneko know there was coffee in Saya's bottle instead of tea, her usual drink? The second clue that points to the harasser is... When Kaneko spoke and there was no sound, she went to change mics immediately. Isn't that a bit strange?
What's strange about that?
There have been several occasions when the main mic's cable came loose from the mixer. Everyone who works here knows this.
Yes, but plugging the cable back in fixes the issue.
Exactly. Normally, you would just wait for that. But Kaneko went and got the spare mic immediately. That's because she knew the main mic was actually broken. So waiting around was pointless.
So you're saying Kaneko was the one who broke the mic?
Yes. In other words, Kaneko was the person who has been harassing Saya.
Kaneko.
Why would she?
Wait a minute. If Kaneko was the harasser, does that mean she tried to kill Saya by poisoning the spare mic? But the one who died was Kaneko. Why would she poison herself? With her own needles?
Well... Kaneko was... probably...
Kaneko didn't know there were poison needles on the spare mic. That's why she grabbed it without any hesitation. In other words, the person who poisoned the spare mic and the person who broke the main mic are not the same.
Josie!
Kaneko was killed by the poison needles attached to the spare mic. But why did the killer go through all that trouble to put poison needles on the spare mic and not the main mic? Io, I think you know the reason.
It's because... The killer was afraid that someone would touch the microphone by mistake. Right?
Exactly. The main mic gets handled by many people. Even Mr. Masuda and Mr. Bito might touch it. That's why the killer poisoned the rarely used spare mic.
But the killer wouldn't have known that Kaneko would use the spare mic. In fact, it was a last-minute decision to have her go on stage.
That's right. No one was pressuring Kaneko to sing at all. She asked to be on that stage. That wasn't unexpected turn of events for the killer.
No one set foot on stage after it was decided Kaneko would perform. Which means...
That's right. It means... the spare mic was... The spare mic was poisoned before it was decided that Kaneko would go on stage.
Wait a minute. So you mean the killer didn't intend to murder Kaneko with the poisoned needles?
In that case, the killer's target was...
Who was it? What do you think?
I believe the killer poisoned the spare mic with the intent of killing Saya.
But isn't that strange? There's no way the killer could have known if I would use the spare mic.
Actually, I think they knew. They were sure you would use the spare mic.
Why is that?
The person who poisoned the spare mic was Saya. And the intended victim was also Saya.
I didn't want to know. I was better off not knowing.
Huh?
Saya. You were planning to kill yourself.
Why would you think that?
The dress you were supposed to wear tonight was ripped up. You did that yourself, didn't you? Only you and the boss knew that it was your dress after all.
This dress for Saya just arrived this morning. I hung it up with the other costumes. Then I looked away for just 1 second and this happened. I was afraid someone would tamper with it, so I didn't tell anyone that it was Saya's dress. I should have just asked someone to keep a close eye on it for me.
I can't think of anyone but you, Saya, who could have ripped up that dress.
Was there a need for me to do that?
I believe there was. It occurred to me. Boss, after hearing what you said about the dress from the tailors, what was wrong with it?
It's not bad. But it looks like something you get buried in, doesn't it?
Something you get buried in. You ripped up the other dress so that the boss would have to get the white one. With the poison needles you prepared. You wanted to die on stage wearing that beautiful burial dress. Isn't that right?
My voice is ruined.
Huh?
I never needed a mic before to fill this room with my voice. I've even sung entire nights just on my own. But 2 weeks ago, after drinking that coffee, it destroyed my voice. My precious high notes, most of all. That's why I thought of making tonight my last. I wanted to die on stage, beautifully singing my final song.
That's why you put the poison needles on the spare mic.
Yes. During rehearsal, that is. I pretended to check the spare mic. It was part of the usual checks, so Mr. Beto didn't suspect a thing, even though he was nearby.
Why the poison needles? You could have taken the poison before going on stage, for instance. What made you take all this trouble?
I thought about that, you know. But there's no telling when the poison would take effect. This was the only way to deliver a perfect swan song.
Did you know that it was Kanako who broke the mic?
It wasn't working when we started rehearsal. That silly girl. Of course I'd notice if it was broken before rehearsal.
So, when I heard your voice over the speakers, that was... It was your natural voice. You were pushing yourself. One last time.
You praised my singing then, didn't you? But you must forgive me. I can't sing like that anymore.
Then...
It was a recording. That's how I used to sound. I asked Mr. Beto to play it. I told him I wanted to save my voice for the show, so he played records at rehearsal to fool everyone.
So the mic was already broken at that point.
That's why no staff were allowed in during rehearsal.
But that's all I asked Mr. Beto to do. I did everything else myself.
Did you also foresee that Kanako would use the spare mic?
When I saw her switch mics immediately, I knew. She was the one who broke the main mic. I knew I had to stop her. Part of me believed she was getting exactly what she deserved. And so I simply watched as she died. I realized earlier that she was the one harassing me. As you pointed out, Kanako said that someone had put disinfectant in my coffee. I noticed it too. She had no reason to know that there was coffee in my bottle that day. Such a careless, silly girl. You know, I actually liked her. But she was getting close to me, just so she could take my place on the stage. when I realized that, everything I'd done for her suddenly looked so futile, so heartbreaking.
But this doesn't end well for anyone involved. By killing her, you ruined your one and only chance for a grand finale.
Everyone calls me the Eternal Diva. Do you know why? Well, it's because everyone was projecting their ideals onto me. But we all grow old. The real me and the idealized me were growing further and further apart. I can't keep it up anymore, even with the power of the spotlights. You know, I really was going to sing tonight. My song would have been legendary. Well, Motoki, I have one last favor to ask. Would you let me sing on stage one last time?
What will you sing?
A requiem just for her. I don't need my high notes for that.
But
Let her sing. Please.
well, the Scarlet Camellia was built around you, after all. You will go on stage, just as planned. You are a true star.
Thank you.
Unfortunately, I must ask you to reconsider. Do you think Kaneko wants to hear a requiem sung by her killer?
Just let her sing. At least until the police arrive.
You haven't even called the police yet, have you? You were looking out for her. You had a feeling things would turn out like this. That's why you hesitated to call the police.
I noticed I had been acting strange these past few weeks. That much was obvious. We've worked together a long time.
And yet, you still wanted her to sing on stage tonight. Perhaps it was your expectations that pushed her over the edge.
The police?
What the?
I called them. Restrain her at once.
Bastard!
No matter what. She mustn't be allowed on that stage. Restrain her! Now!
Josie, you might have helped us solve the case. But this was not what I wanted at all.
Even if Saya sang on stage, you wouldn't hear the beautiful voice you're hoping for.
What do you mean?
A requiem for someone she hated enough to kill. Not one note of it would be for the sake of the dead. She'd be singing purely because of her selfish desires.
I didn't want to know. So it's better off not knowing.
To be honest, I still don't know if what the detective said that night was right. Was Saya's final wish something that shouldn't be granted? What should I have done? I write this tale, dear reader, in the hope that you may enlighten me.